Welcome, everyone. My name is David Kelly. I'm the Program Director for the eLearning Guild, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to another Twist Conversation. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Ali Shahrazad from Saltbox, and we're going to be talking about the xAPI and learning record stores. Welcome, Ali.
Well, thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Before we get started, can you take a moment to introduce yourself to our viewers? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a co-founder and chief marketing officer at Saltbox. We help companies better understand their training data so that they can improve employee readiness. And we're makers of wax LRS, this learning record store based on the Experience API. My background has been in sales training, and operations, companies like T-Mobile. Prior to that, I did a lot of research at the University of Washington on biomedical devices. So that was in physics and bioengineering. So I have a very eclectic background, but most of my career has been in sales and sales training, specifically at T-Mobile.
Excellent. And I know that you've mentioned Saltbox does a lot of work related to xAPI, and you have your own learning record store. And there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of, it's been a popular topic in the industry as xAPI has been developing and becoming a spec and becoming open to getting recently to version 1.0. And I know we could go very deep into the rabbit hole of what is it, how does it work, and it's such a deep topic. So, but can you give us some context around the conversation? Can you give me a Reader's Digest version of what xAPI and a learning record store are, maybe in the context of what can I do differently using xAPI and a learning record store that the traditional model of just using a learning management system can't do?
Sure. No, it's a great question. It comes up quite a bit and very often for us as we're speaking to clients and we're at the conferences that we attend. I think before we kind of dive into what it is, it's important to a little bit of background history behind what's causing this shift and this change. What brought this about? What are some problems that organizations are experiencing today that's really moved them to look into and adopt this standard? Because there are some great examples from many organizations out there today that are adopting it. But I'll tell you one of the most common examples that we're seeing is that organizations are starting more and more to leverage different platforms and systems for designing, delivering learning experiences. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is that this is happening in a variety of ways, different media, different modalities, different devices. It's a different world that we're in today than we were 10, 15 years ago. I think we'd all agree on that. And I think what's happening is, specifically in learning and development, is that while it's a very flexible, modular learning architecture now. People are learning on SharePoint on the internet. They're learning, they're accessing resources in the video library, or speaking to their peers on collaborating on some internal social business network, for example, like Jive or Yammer. And what we're realizing is that I think learning and development is finding ways to better support that learning as it's happening today. And I think they're also looking to be a part of those learning experiences and augment them with additional content and media. And it's becoming almost a best practice not to have a single platform as a learning for learning. This is more of this distributed environment, and what's happening is that as a result of this, it's extremely hard to get a good holistic understanding of what's actually happening and how we can better support how people are learning today in the workflow, in the systems they're using through a variety of systems and platforms. So this information is all siloed, it's all over the place, and what the Experience API has done and enabled is a common format and language for these systems to talk to each other. And I think whether there's an LRS or not, this is a standardized form of communication to describe, and right now to describe learning, but we can also talk about how this could describe performance and other behaviors and activities people complete that aren't necessarily learning as we know it today or as we've defined it in the past.
And that brings up an interesting point. I know you said in the intro that you were talking about that you help organizations with their training data, and what we define as training data in recent history consists of things like courses completed, how many people are in the seats, not really meaningful data. And I know that one of the things you're looking into is how we can use xAPI and learning record stores and combinations of different applications to track actual competencies within an organization. Can you give me an example? Because that's extremely valuable and something that's been out of our reach up until this point. Can you give me an idea, help me understand how the combination of these different tools, including xAPI and a learning record store, can help an organization track the competencies within their organization?
Yeah, I think one of the things to recognize here is that, and so it's a great question comes up a lot, is, how does this relate to the bigger picture of how ready people are, how competent they are in their current roles? And while there are a number of frameworks out there for understanding how competent people are, how proficient they are on a particular topic or subject, and there's many different definitions of competencies. One of the things, the ways that we're kind of put some context behind how we're defining competencies right now in our current cases that we're working with clients on is a really flexible way to define what it means to be able to carry out something at work, do something that is with a high level of proficiency and comfort, and that's a big, hard problem to solve. But it's becoming easier now that we're able to look beyond just that training data. So if we look beyond completion or test score, not exclusive, inclusive of that data, but not exclusively just training data. We can very flexibly, and this we're doing today, is companies are flexibly defining what it means to be competent on a particular area. So they can define that in the LRS, and this is not a function or capability that's defined and LRS must provide. This is a way that we're finding people are getting the most value out of how to use this data, how to manipulate it, better understand and organize it in their LRS. So they're able to flexibly define what a competency is based on a number of activities from a number of different platforms. It could be from the LMS. It could include data from the CRM tool or the internet, and it will include actual behaviors and what people are doing day to day on the job. Now, a lot of this is not new. This information has been tracked in the past, but it's hard to make sense out of it in real time and at scale very flexibly. And that's what we're helping people do. So right now in WAX LRS, in our learning record store, using this technology, using LRS technology, since the LRS has that information, it's easier to organize it and to define what it means for someone to be competent, and then track that in real time and measure their proficiency based on a number of factors.
And one of the things that has really interested me when it comes to the whole conversation around xAPI and LRSs and such, the last couple of years the conversation has been very developer oriented in terms of how do you use this, how does it work, and it was really a very hardcore developer topic because people were understanding how it works. And what's exciting to me is in more recent history, we've seen that conversation shift where that's still important and people need to know how to do this, but now we're starting to see it shift towards a business opportunity and what difference does this, by implementing it, we've shifted from the how do you implement to why do you implement, and starting to hear more business cases that are involved with the real potential in this. And I know at DevLearn this fall you're going to be giving a session talking about how you helped an organization build a competency reporting system using these new technologies. And that's the type of conversation that's really going to help take this conversation to the next level where people can really see how it's going to impact their businesses. So if I'm an attendee at DevLearn and I'm going to be sitting in your session, can you give me a sneak preview on what I'm going to learn about when you share that story with me?
Sure, and thank you for sharing that, David. The session at DevLearn, we're looking forward to presenting this. This is I think at this particular session at DevLearn, what's really interesting is, as you mentioned, a lot of these case studies are coming out. Well, one of the things we're going to attempt to do is lay out a lot of the design considerations. What went into the design thinking, the process for defining how we're going to integrate the different systems with the LRS, whether there were existing integrations out there that could be leveraged. So really it's the design and implementation phase and planning, really design and planning phase of adopting and leveraging this new technology with an LRS. And we're going to do this all in very non-technical terms. So you should expect to hear a lot about the decisions that were made, why they were made, what challenges and obstacles we faced, throughout implementation. And then the roadmap that we set out from starting small with I think in the case of this particular case study with Sears, we're going to talk about how they brought together multiple LMSs and non-LMS systems together to speak a common language. And again, how that drove a lot of on the back end, drove a lot of the reporting they do at all levels of the organization, from the C-level to store managers and leaders in their stores. So we're going to try to take a very complex implementation and break it down into parts. So there'll be design and planning, how they implemented it, what they got out of it as a result. And in some cases, I think we'll be able to share what they're going to be doing, and how they're going to expand this in the future and continue to grow this this new ecosystem they have. So that's a little bit of background on the session.
That's excellent, and I know one of the things that I'm really looking forward to at DevLearn this year is yours is one of a number of sessions that are going to be exploring this idea of xAPI in practice, and not just talking about how it works, but looking at why it works and what we can do differently, and how it's going to shape what we do in the future and change the contribution that we can be making to organizations. So it's a really exciting conversation, and I'm really thrilled to have you guys on the program sharing that story, because I think it's going to be really powerful for people.
Well, David, thank you. We're excited to be there, and appreciate taking the time to meet and talk as well.
Thank you. And if you want to learn more about Ali's session or any of the sessions that are taking place at DevLearn this fall, please do visit our website, devlearn14.com. The DevLearn Conference and Expo is taking place in Las Vegas this October 29th through 31st at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas, and we're really looking forward to having Ali's session and all the different sessions at the conference this year. So if you want to learn more details, please do visit the website, devlearn14.com. Ali, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and talking about xAPI, learning record stores, and this fascinating new technologies.
Excellent. Thank you, David.
And I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Twist Conversations. Take care, everybody.